okay or dangerous to revisit a military traumatic event when acting in a war movie? Ooh. Christopher
Well,
Silva.
I've done some stuff that took place during wartime, and I have been attracted to the idea of using veterans because I think people who have the real experience. But, you know, authenticity is a very important thing, and it's a very big thing today. But I don't want you to go out and kill anybody if you're going to play a killer, and if you're going to play a hooker, I don't think you should stand on Sunset Boulevard the night before the audition just to see what it feels like. You know,
Yeah.
so that's why it's an imagination world that we're in. So I don't know whether it's dangerous or not. To revisit, you know, I mean, I think you have to know yourself. If you've had a real traumatic event in your life of any kind, and it's relevant to the part, you have to touch on it to the extent that it benefits you. But if you touch on it and it paralyzes you,
That's where technique comes in. So
yes.
you can
Oh, I remember that.
So you can access it, tap into it when you need it, and then
For connection, and then let it go.
Let it go. And that just comes with practice and class.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
all of that, all of those things. When submitting on Actors Access, there are multiple roles, is it okay to submit for different roles for the same production, or should one submit for one?
No, I think it's perfectly okay, but with all due respect to those of you who are not represented and are working through Actors Access only, unless I'm looking for a French-speaking Vietnamese 7-year-old girl, I'm probably not on Actors Access.
Okay.
The more specific my need is, and the more unusual my need is, the more I might widen the net. But I know that I can cast excellent writing on television with actors who are represented by agents and managers.
Right. So do you have a special list, like your own little private favorite list, or do you have to refer, because I know you mentioned a lot about like network stuff and like network lists and approvals and stuff in the book. And then you have the production. Is there all these different lists going around, or
Lists of actors, or
Yeah.
lists of favorite agents, or I mean, I have I once, when I was working for Barbara Clayman very, very early in my career, I said to her, "Hey, Barbara, how many actors do you think you know?" And she said, "Oh, I have a working knowledge of," and I forgot. Maybe she said 10,000. Maybe she said 25,000. I don't remember.
That's
but
a lot.
I thought, wow.
Jeez,
And then I think to myself, well, in a loosely defined working knowledge of, I do have a tens of thousands. I mean, at ER, we did 332 episodes over 15 years, and there were 20 people in every episode. And if you saw 5 or 8 or 10 people for every part, I'm not going to do the math, but it's a hell of a lot of people.
That's a hell of a lot of people. And you couldn't double cast, right?
No.
You couldn't go back.
No, we had a rule. It was that if you were a child actor and then you went through puberty, you could come back as an adult.
Oh, I didn't know there was a loophole in there. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, it was like, you can't go in on that. You've already done ER. But
Yeah.
it's season 20. I was in season 2. Can't do it. Okay, what method acting do you find attractive versus repulsive? That's Chad Pape. Hey, Chad.
Well, I don't find any... I find disconnected false acting repulsive.
Same.
The repulsive is a tough word, but I find it less interesting.
Right.
But whatever works for you, whatever
Right.
stimulates your creative engine, is fine by me. I'm not exclusively. An actor's studio or a Meisner or
Right.
Some teachers have produced a lot of really good actors, so they understand something that they're communicating well to their students, and whatever technique they call it, it doesn't matter to me at all.
Right, right. I hope that answers that. That's it? Okay, cool. These are some really good questions, and thank you so much for. I'm trying to think if I have anything else for you today. I think we've. Oh yeah. Yeah, I think we've covered everything. Thank you so much for coming out to
Well, it was
Hollywood on Valentine's Day.
It was such a relaxing drive.
I love the I need you to stay on the phone with me while I'm driving. So if I call you in a panic,
Yeah.
I mean, it sucks out there. I know.
Well, it wasn't the out there that was the problem. It was the in here that was the problem, and the directions. So I'm going to try to calm down enough so that when I get to Karen's house for dinner, I won't say to her, "Those directions are horrible."
Yeah, I'm sorry. We don't want to screw up your Valentine's Day.
No.
That's for sure. But you made it, and it's all good. And we're not going to use MapQuest.
No, God, no. But let's just say to everybody that the book is available on Amazon and on Barnes & Noble. There's an e-book that's under $10. There's a paperback, which is under $20. And there's a hardcover, which is right around $30 with the taxes and all of that. And,
yeah, I mean, we didn't touch on the fact that there is so many stories in there. That's why I said it's such a great balance of professional business stuff and then funny stories like with George Clooney. I wrote them all down. Don Cheadle. Oh, that story is so great. Was he a friend of yours prior to your daughter's?
Well, I knew all of those kids who graduated from Cal Arts that year.
Oh, he went to Cal Arts.
He went to Cal Arts, and he was there. And Glenn Plummer worked in the shop there. Okay. And they were always very funny when they would show up for the same audition. And Glenn became a good friend, and a guy called David Dunsing was part of their team, and Jesse Borrego, and they were all Shawnee Modrell, and there were a lot of them in that class, and I somehow got invested in that class, and a couple of them built that garage mahal, and Don came over the night that it was finished, and my 2-year-old daughter danced with him, and he made the joke of, in 25 years, when she marries a black man, I'm sorry, it's my fault.
He is so cool. I've played poker with him and his wife.
He's a wonderful guy. He's so smart.
Oh, yeah. And he's just personable and nice and friendly. There's Noah Wiley stories. There's George Clooney, of course, the brown paper bag, infamous story. John Spencer, who I love. Chandra Wilson, what a story about being hired on this huge show. We all know Chandra Wilson from Grey's Anatomy, who's Dr. Bailey. She's so great. But she was hired and then fired 2 days later after being on set. How does how do you keep going?
How do you recover from that? Yeah.
That's tough. I mean, I got cut out of some Shameless stuff, and I was like, oh, but it was well, keep going because you can do something else.
And we always used to try to tell people if they had been deleted, so that they didn't have a dinner party and invite all their best buddies over and suddenly go, it's over, and I wasn't in it.
No, I found out because I had asked the edit people to pull the clip, and they're like, "Oh, we don't see it in there," and I'm like, "Oh, but there's a scene," and I'm talking to Emily, who I love, Emily
Burgle?
Yes, oh, she's a doll, and yeah, so it was whatever, and they were like, "It's not here," and I'm like, "Oh, well, there's other scenes in there," but it was okay. It was still good. Jerry Bruckheimer story. I have a Jerry Bruckheimer too. And that, I mean, it's all in here, and the Aaron Sorkin stuff, which we touched on. I mean, and to stay a good human and connected to the roots, with your activism and just being a good person. I mean, it's all in here, and you kind of give the blueprint for how to do that, and it's about the work. I mean, it really is. That's what I got from it.
It's obviously the title is an acting pun. Mm-hmm. Every one of you wants to be and thinks you are right for the role. Mm-hmm. But my journey was to find the role that I was right for, because I wasn't a good actor, and I was a good director in the theater. But I didn't see a life there in a hotel room in Seattle, and the next week in San Diego, and the next month in Portland, and and when I had a wife and children, that just didn't seem like a good way to live. So finding the role that I was right for in the community that I fit into, and being able to become a meaningful collaborator in that community was the role I was right for, and I'm so grateful that I found it. You know, two roads diverged in a yellow wood. What?
No.
You know, you don't ever know where the hell you're going.
But embracing it and being open for it, I
Yeah.
think, is really what your guide. Like, it seemed like you were being guided, and you were open to being guided, and that's what I try to teach in class too.
The happy accident.
Yes, always. You know,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be this calculated, pensive, like, oh, I'm gonna grind this thing in the thing. No, you gotta let things, and that's scary for people.
Oh, very. And that's in your relationships, in your every part of your life. If you're flexible and on a journey with others, you can accomplish a lot. And if you're rigid and inflexible with others, you're likely to alienate and exclude and do all of the things that you don't want to do. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's end it with that. Thank you so much, John.
Thank you.
This book is fantastic. I'm gonna have you sign it.
Good.
And goodbye, all TMFA. If you have any other questions, you can DM me with other questions and my class schedule and things like that. So thank you so much, and thank you, John Frank Levey.
Thank you.
And Eric. So what's the name of the studio? Sandra?
It's Sonderland Sound.
Sonderland Sound out here in Hollywood, California.
On Cosmo Street.
On Cosmo Street.
Well, and by the way, I could use a Cosmo.
don't take MapQuest to get here, but get here because it's rad. Okay. Thank you so much, and we'll see you again soon. Cool. I do want you to.